off an incredibly terrible 2K20, WWE 2K22 had some very low expectations to many. Like a bunch of you guys, I've been playing Wrestling Is my entire life. WrestleMania 2000 and WWF Attitude on the Nintendo 64 to iconic classics such as SVR 2006 and 2007. Every year, I'd eagerly anticipate the latest release, and they'd always find a way to wow me. It would be the SVR 2010 trailer, WWE 13, whatever. But in recent years, it just didn't hit the same, unfortunately. I, of course, attribute this to being older, but a lot of the newer WWE games lost that special charm. Nonetheless, they weren't bad games. I had fun with them. Then came the catastrophic 2K20, and it's better we don't speak about it. We don't do that here. But basically, the entire series dating back from the first SmackDown all the way up to today was on the edge. 2K22 had to deliver. Otherwise, we were probably going to hear EA Sports is in the game, and we don't want to hear that. To say that the game delivered would be a huge understatement. It's addicting, whether it be downloading a random creator wrestler or roasting Beth Phoenix and MyRise. There's a lot to do. So right now, let's get into the video. But before we do, I gotta say a thank you to our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends has taken the gaming world by storm. With the console level quality on mobile devices, they show that they're the real deal. More than millions of potential combinations and a plethora of tactics that stand out amongst other games as you battle bosses, experience dungeon runs, PvP arena matches, and campaign battles. With over 600 amazing champions with superb skills and hundreds of artifacts to equip, you can assemble a team, build up your champions, and raid your way. I've played Raid for a bit now, and these are some of my champions. Bellinor, legendary. Bellinor stands out for his intelligence, opting to hit his enemy as hard as possible and go into hiding. A great choice for clan boss and the spider's den as well. He's even better with Xavia by his side. You could even add 2 Xavias. Bellinor as the leader of the team helps you avoid the hassle as his aura increases ally critical rate by 24% in all battles. Bellinor has received great reviews from other players, and if chosen, I'd say he's a fantastic choice. Another legendary champion I loved using was Manaya. Her size is deceiving as she's one of the very strongest in Raid. With Manaya by her side, she heals the ally with the lowest HP and even heals the whole team by 40% and adds a shield to any champion that's fully healed. It's safe to say that if you have Manaya on your team, you have a perseverant soldier, especially if she's paired with Koronar. Manaya is well loved by other players of Raid as she's received excellent reviews. As for other things, well, the graphics to the game is one of the many things that stand out to me. Raid provides beautiful visuals that just look extremely detailed. What I like most about the game is the campaign mode. I just found it interesting to take over and topple these enemies. Obviously, I'm not good enough to go in on Nightmare mode, as it is indeed that, a nightmare, but it's still a fun experience. This time period is interesting to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you get a free starter pack worth almost $30. We're talking a free epic champion Aina, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, and 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. These rewards are only available for 30 days and are only for new players. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. The most important component of a game is clearly the gameplay. You can have an absolute stunning game, but if it sucks, it's all for nothing. 2K20's biggest problem was the gameplay itself being so inconsistent. Without the glitches, I didn't really enjoy it because it was too slow for my liking. Obviously, there's some that like 2K20's gameplay, but not really. When I played 2K19 again, it felt so damn fast. Here, that's what they did. The pacing is much quicker than the recent games. The engine is, as they say, rebuilt, and you can feel that. It's not an entirely different engine from scratch because that would be ridiculous, but the gameplay stands out from any game in a very long time. The reversal limit was removed, and I actually liked that feature from the other games because it made you smarter and wiser in your strategy. But it didn't really matter in the long run though. The biggest change compared to previous games was of course the combos. At face value during that horrid marketing campaign, 2K had us thinking that this was some Tekken or Street Fighter type stuff. Luckily it isn't. When you strike someone and begin a combo, you deliver this onslaught on the opponent and it leads to a smooth transition into a maneuver. Of course, grappling isn't completely removed, it's still there, but the whole wacky combo grew on me thankfully. In particular, I know Ray and Brock's very well, with the latter being for obvious reasons. I haven't completely explored on it though, but I believe each wrestler has a different fighting style, there's like 4 or 5 of them, and they're the same sequences but different moves. If you're on defense and someone begins a combo on you, you have to successfully guess the right button. I hated this at first. Riddle's on my ass with these strikes and I didn't know what to do. Now I just randomly guess, and when you see the square circle button, it feels as good as seeing your favorite team win. Other than that, the pinfall and submission mini games are a bit different this year. Pinfalls in particular, you have to basically destroy your controller if Roman hits a Superman punch on you. In submission, I believe this had been in the game in the past, but was an alternative choice. Honorable mentions go to the camera angles. I thought they were a fresh addition and make the moves more devastating along with a bloody screen. It gives off a purgatory vibe in the sense that you're basically done. Finishers aren't as strong as previous years, but then again, this is very consistent. Sometimes all it takes is one finisher, and other times Rock's out here kicking out like it's an NXT TakeOver main event. In other places, the Royal Rumble is much more challenging. You could just clothesline someone, but they usually counter and make your life a living hell. It's not like the real thing, but for certain the wrestlers last longer, which is cool to see. Last time around, I thought Hogan politicked to win the Rumble because he lasted far too long. He lasted for like over 15 minutes, but luckily Booker T got rid of him. Hell in a Cell matches are mostly the same, and I hope they eventually allow you to escape using the door, because it's annoying to have to throw your opponent through the walls. My favorite improvement towards the special matches was the ability to set your table and ladders wherever. In previous games, there was 4 positions in the ring, and it was unnecessary. So that's nice. You could drop your opponent through a table and it remains broken in the ring, so that's cool. And there's more tiny additions to the gameplay, but at face value, it's a welcoming improvement. The problem with the past WWE games is that even though they're tweaked, they felt the same. You want to see this with SVR 2006 to 2008. Each of those 3 games felt different, but that's what it is with 2K15 to 2K19. 2K22 though doesn't feel like 2K20. It's different, and that's what's good about it. 2K really put in the effort and it's paid off. So overall, I'd say the gameplay is a welcoming addition. It feels different, unlike 2K15 to 2K19. Each of those games, even though they were a bit different, they still felt the same. Here, I didn't feel that way. It felt like a fresh game. Another thing that they thoroughly worked on was the graphics and presentation. The entrances have this camera shaky thing to them, and it's not as if there's an invisible cameraman, presumably John Cena, that's holding the camera, because the camera actually feels like someone's holding it. The little movements during the entrance are on point for the most part, and they're more interesting to watch. Alexa Bliss coming out frantically looks cool. Roman looking on as everyone acknowledges him is great. Goldberg's entrance where he's randomly punching the air. Finn Balor pointing his fingers and doing the arm raise. And sometimes I forget to skip the entrances like I usually do because they're that damn good. The graphics in particular are much better than their 2K20 counterpart. The coloring in 20s was odd, and I don't know how to describe it exactly. Saturated perhaps, but the improvements are night and day. The best part of the graphics for me is if you play in a Thunderdome. If you play in that arena and do a quick glance guarantee, it looks like the real thing. As time goes on, the wrestlers start sweating, and if you're playing as Ciampa or Triple H, it glances off their head and looks authentic, at times almost legit. Amongst other things improved in the graphics area was the blood. Unlike previous years, the wrestlers have bruises on their face and don't bleed from the forehead as usual. It's all over the place. It looks messy, and it looks like something implemented from a UFC or a Fight Night game, so that's cool. These minor touches all add up to make WWE 2K22 one of the most visually stunning games from the entire series, maybe even the most. Unfortunately though, not everything is great about the game, as the roster of 2K22 is unfortunately not up to par to previous games. This is a bit of a weakness, but you can't blame 2K. I assume it had to do with the budget, because after 2K22 pulled the December to December 2006, WWE lowered their budget, rumor has it. So we didn't see those additional legends like Greg the Hammer Valentine, Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers, likes of Ricky Morton, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and instead the roster had those very important legends like the Outsiders, Stone Cold The Rock. The current roster, though, resembles the WrestleMania 37 time period, so you had the likes of the Iconics, Breezango, and even Braun Strowman in the game. Unfortunately, Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, and The Fiend Bray Wyatt aren't in here. The first 4 are for obvious reasons, and as for The Fiend, they had a falling out when he was released in August. Adam Cole as well left in August, yet they managed to remove him from the game. There are some Impact and AEW faithful in here, such as Mickie James and Kyle O'Reilly, who's kind of fun playing as. They couldn't remove everyone, of course, so they're left with Swerve, Tony Storm, and John Morrison. It's definitely not the most up-to-date roster. SCR 2006 comes to mind as a similar game, but 2K22 has it beat. Other than that, the strangest omissions from this game have to be Lita, the Bella Twins, Carmelo Hayes, and Braun Breaker for me. There's others, but I expected these 5 in the game, especially Hayes and Breaker, who are being pushed as the next big stars. And the weirdest part of this roster is the fact that Dominic Dijakovic and others are locked. You can't play as them despite facing them in MyRise. So if Alexa Bliss reverts to her old self, she's in the game, but you can't play as her. Other than these things, my favorites are in the game, although I wish RVD was available straight up. It's cool that they're bringing in new names like A-Kid and Saray as well. Regardless of this, you can notice the lack of notable names, especially on the women's side of the roster. MyFaction. With the success of FIFA Ultimate Team and NBA My Team, it's expected that WWE 2K games are eventually going to feature some sort of card game. I've played my fair share of FIFA Ultimate Team and I've been frustrated throughout the years. I hate that game mode, so I wasn't that excited for WWE's version of it. The problem with the mode is, I'm like, okay, why don't we play? I'm kind of like interested in it, but it's offline. So what's the point? You open these packs just to play nobody, and what's up with that? Nonetheless, if you're into the grind like it is in NBA 2K and FIFA, this is the mode for you. Although it's kind of frustrating, I have to play these 4-on-4 matches. People interfere, they break the pinfall. Oh man. I started off with AJ Styles and Stephanie as the manager, and I haven't gotten far, but I've heard there's some cool and very frustrating unlockables in the mode, such as Shawn Michaels 97. They put him in MyFaction, but didn't add him to the game. The Godfather as well. It just feels like something EA would do with the classic players. Other than that, it's a good start. It's not the worst edition in the world because honestly, the WWE games have been lacking. MyRise. Fresh off the horrible career mode in 2K20, 2K brought it back and fixed it up. For one, it's not as embarrassing. 20 was so terrible because the unrelatable lines and some of the stuff that was uttered in that mode is better not to be mentioned. The PS2 graphics, and for me, it was boring. I loved 2K19s because that was the first I truly played through, and I had fun. It was wacky, goofy, all the things you'd expect from a classic WWE game. Here, there's more options. Heel and face. As a heel, your character has so much arrogance exuding from them to the point where it's like, bro, calm down. You know, there were a couple of times I've been laughing throughout the mode and I haven't even gotten far. It's just something. It's also cool that they gave both the men and the women their storylines, you know, 25 plus hours for each side. And on the topic of heel mode, or whatever the hell you want to call it, when I tell you the character is a douche, I mean it. Stop here if you don't want me to spoil the story mode, but in one of those stories, Eddie Guerrero and the Lowrider are featured. That tells you all you need to know. You can respond to some tweets, piss off Beth Phoenix to the point where she wants to beat you up, and you can customize your wrestler's attire straight up, and overall, it gave off a classic SDR vibe for me with these odd storylines. That's the sense in my head throughout the game, and also, HBK's out here delivering these crazy-ass moves. Like, if this man delivered these moves to The Undertaker, he would have ended the streak. And then there's MyGM, the most anticipated game mode return. We all know about this mode. You have Carlito complaining about not being featured, and this is despite the roster featuring The Rock, Stone Cold. Like, where are you gonna fit? After 14 years, the mode is back and better. Scratch that, the mode was back. The game allowed you to run Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and NXT UK, going up against the likes of Shane McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Sonya Deville, Adam Pearce, and William Regal. There's some nice additions such as the camera angles, and I wish there was a bit more emphasis on it, especially in the other game modes, but it's a start. Similar to the older games, wrestlers feel entitled. Like here, Randy Orton's out here wanting the GM to manage him or something along the lines of that. I listen to him because it's Randy Orton, obviously. Then you have here Trent Seven asking for more money. He's holding me up, and I'm like, hell no. Like, this roster has Charlotte, has Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, all these guys, and I'm going to give him a raise? No. Hell no. I could have given it to him, but I signed Batista and The Rock, so that's a better choice. There's all kinds of messages here, and some of them are flat out hilarious. But then 2K forgot something. They forgot the mid-card titles. The one thing they could have done to stick the landing. Another problem is the combinations. Like, I tried having Drew McIntyre face Jinder Mahal and they rated terribly. Just because both wrestlers are powerhouses doesn't mean it's not going to be a good watch. Add to that, you can't even do tag team or multi-man matches the proper way. You could do tag team Hell in a Cell, but you can't do tag team ladder match. You can't do a triple threat as well. It's clear that this is only the start, but they could have done a bit more because the game from 2005 has more features. That said, I did enjoy running the show a bit. I wasn't really that into it because I prefer universe mode, but it's cool running the show with somebody like Cody Rhodes. You could add your custom wrestler in there, which I thought was cool. Showcase mode. I'm not gonna lie, the hype I had for a game mode was mostly with Showcase. Why Showcase? Because it gave you the opportunity to unlock wrestlers that aren't usually in game. This year is all about Rey Mysterio and his illustrious career. Behind the mask is a hard-working, disciplined individual who managed to punch far beyond his weight and in doing so, cemented his legacy as an all-time great. I used to think Rey as an all-time great is an over-exaggeration, but you have to understand his impact on pro wrestling. Rey was a great choice, but the way they went about it left a lot to be desired. For one, the total matches in the showcase amounts to 12. And if I ask you, hey, you have to select 12 matches from Rey's career, you wouldn't even think of some of the matches on this list. It's hard to say what 2K truly wanted, as I assume WWE cut their budget and didn't allow the likes of Kurt Angle and Joey Mercury in the game. Add to that, they probably requested Rey themselves. A lot of the matches are missing here, and even though there's some wrestlers not featured, they could have included 2006 Randy Orton, King Booker, 2008 Edge, and it's a shame because if this was done like Stone Cold's in 2K16, it would for sure be my favorite, because I grew up watching Rey Mysterio. He's one of the most entertaining, marketable wrestlers I've seen. Everyone knows Rey Mysterio. Why? Because he's got the mask and he's got those amazing, crazy moves. That said, there is some positive. I didn't let the lack of matches ruin my enjoyment of the showcase. Every match for me felt challenging, and the lighting in the classic arenas were tremendously done. Like Halloween Havoc, WrestleMania 21, and Raw 2011 were some of my favorite arenas. They taught you the combos well here and even added a hidden cutscene for Halloween Havoc. The most frustrating matches for me were JBL at Judgment Day 2006 and Batista and SmackDown 2009. JBL though was more annoying. I didn't know how to go for the springboards. I'm confused, and from out of nowhere, this guy swings his arm into my face and wins the title. This happened a few times, and I had to get away from Showcase for a bit because of it. The visuals were nice along with the little things such as the blood on Undertaker's nose, but that being said, this showcase should have had more Eddie, John Morrison, and Orton matches. Orton was one of the Rey's biggest rivals, and it's not like he would have been hard to include. The SmackDown match from April 2006 is one of my favorite SmackDown matches ever, and it's a shame that it wasn't featured. It also leads me to believe that 2K had somebody like Edge planned, but that couldn't be done because Christian was in AEW, along with the likes of Big Show and Matt Hardy as well. Overall, I just wish it was more than it was. The matches, though, were very fun. They're engaging and challenging, so that's a plus. But I'm going to lead towards a negative for the showcase mode because, as I said, they could have done so much more with Rey Mysterio. Even if they didn't include Kurt Angle and all those guys, there could have been more matches that they included. Before I end this video, I just want to talk about my favorite minor things. Amongst my favorite minor things is the commentary this year. They added a whole lot of lines, and it gives off a NBA or Madden vibe in the sense that like they put in far more effort. Like when you're in the Elimination Chamber, Michael Cole introduces everybody in the ring, even if they're in the pods. He's talking this guy, that guy. They record lines for everybody, which is cool. And obviously, I'm going to be fed up by commentary in a couple of weeks, but it's cool for now.
Cage door has been locked behind these competitors, and standing in each other's way from escape, we see Santos Escobar, Austin Theory, Marcel Bartel, and Angel Garza.
I like the camera angles and the way they sell the wrestlers as heights. Like, I was playing as Ricochet, and the Undertaker just looked so damn huge, and it felt like a challenge. It felt like a tougher task for Ricochet than it is for the Undertaker. Superstar mode is a decent addition. You know, you could skip all the matches and just play with your own wrestler, so that's cool. Minor things I didn't like, obviously the clipping is still there. I mentioned this earlier, but I cut it out for some reason. When you're fighting in no DQ matches, weapons take a long time to use. Like the chair, it's in super slow motion, then T-Bar comes in and beats me up or something, and I didn't like that. Dolph Ziggler's still OP, at least for me. He's always beating my ass, as you guys know. And occasionally there is glitches, but they're goofy. There's some dumb glitches here and there. Other things that I liked were community creations. This year, it's cross-gen, it's cross-platform, which is so damn cool. These creators, they're ridiculously talented out here. And some of these community creations actually solve some problems that I actually mentioned in this video. But yes, those are the minor things that I liked. Overall, WWE 2K20 is a welcoming addition to the series. I am personally glad that they actually delivered because there was some worry there. Their marketing for this game was absolutely horrendous to the point where it's like, this game's gonna suck. They hid a lot from the public, and it felt like it was gonna be very underwhelming. It wasn't gonna live up to the hype that was set forth by people, but I'm glad that it did. I had fun playing as a bunch of wrestlers, whether it be Rey Mysterio, Sasha Banks, Brock Lesnar. It's always interesting. The AI is smarter, and because of these many additions, you know, the MyGM, Showcase, MyRise, all these things, this is one of the most interesting WWE games in recent memory. This is a game they put the most effort into in a very, very long time, so I'm glad to see that. I hope they put in enough effort for 2K23 as this game is a step in the right direction. And as I said, I think we're going to be playing this one all year long, unlike the previous one, so that's cool. Alright, what do you guys think of WWE 2K22? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the F5 on the like button or perhaps the 619 on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.